there, comic book friends. I'm Travis, and it's time for their Comic Book Roundtable. And tonight I have with me, back as always, Sergeant America. Mike, how's it going, sir?
It is nice and cool here, finally.
Oh, I wish. It's like 102 here, so my side of the state is burning up. And also with us we have Jen, who's on the nice, cool side of the state. How's it going, Jen?
It's still pretty warm here.
Yeah?
Yeah, but it's alright. I'm doing pretty good.
Good. Let's talk some comics. We decided we flipped an imaginary three-sided coin, and we decided that we are going to talk Marvel first this week. So let's jump into Marvel. What do we want to talk first, Marvel-wise? Mike, what you got?
Black Widow. I know you're reading it. I'm not sure about Jen.
Black Widow.
Not me.
Excellent book. What do we think?
As we've said, the art definitely tells the story, and there's just enough words to give it some splash.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. This was a smart issue. I mean, I think sometimes people forget the spy aspect, because she hangs out with the Avengers and shoots stuff and karate chops things a lot, and so you kind of, at least I do anyway, I forget some of the spy aspect, and of course this book is focused more on the spy thing, and here she completely screws Tony Stark. I mean, like Iron Man, he's a chump in this. I mean, she sets him up. You think, he's coming to, beat her up because she did something horrible to the guy who helped make his original Iron Man suit that saved him, right?
Yeah.
And she's somehow responsible for his capture and horrible stuff that happened to him, supposedly. And she plays the victim through part of it, and Tony's a sucker. And yeah, I really liked it. Because she's always out in front of everything. The few times that she's been kind of caught somewhat flat-footed, of course, then she just relies on her great skills of cartwheeling the hell out of places to get away from things. And you're right. It's all Sam Neill. I mean, Sam Neill's art in it is just brilliant. His simple storytelling, the way he uses shadows and negative space and that sort of thing, just really, really smart. He's got a great economy of line. It's not overdone as far as him putting a bunch of lines in, a bunch of extra art. It's just the right amount for pretty much perfect. So.
Yeah. I like that the villain wasn't the obvious choice, that there actually was a second layer, so we did have this very nice, smarter villain. So.
Right. The big bad guy that we saw a couple issues ago ends up not being the guy behind it, and he's all smarmy because he's a telepath. Well, I'm a telepath, and I'm, I've got you. There's nothing you can do to me, and of course she's, out in front on that too. So, yeah, good stuff. I mean, the larger picture, I'm curious to see what will continue from here, because of course this was the whole kind of the blackmailing thing is done, right?
Yes.
So, where does the story go?
I was just gonna say, as she said at the end, the bad guy works for her now, so I guess she's got some kind of jumping off point from there.
Right. I mean, because now she's pretty much on the most wanted list of S.H.I.E.L.D. and a bunch of other stuff, isn't she? I mean, so.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. I also should mention that Wilson's coloring is really, really good in this too. They smartly use his coloring. All the flashbacks have a red tint to them, so it's immediately recognizable. The stuff when we're being told, the old stuff, it's kind of a sepia tone, but it's all in red hue. Because she comes from a place called the Red Room. That's where she got all of her training from for her assassin stuff and whatnot. I'm assuming that's why they choose to use red for for all of that. But like I said, you can easily recognize when it's that and when it's just the regular, the regular book and stuff. So, yeah, still, this is a book I just, $4, I'm just not bothered at all, by the Marvel higher price point thing. doesn't even, I don't even think about it. It's a non-issue. Just a really, really good book. If you are all interested, I would assume the trade will roll out fairly soon of this. Marvel tends to do a pretty good job of that. I would suggest picking it up. And I don't have an opinion one way or the other about Black Widow necessarily. I just kind of went, oh, well, I'll see what these guys do with Black Widow. Doesn't seem to me like very many people are talking about this book, which kind of surprises me. But yeah, I would definitely recommend it. Recommend for anybody who likes good comics. So. Jen, what'd you pick up Marvel-wise this week?
I got Spider-Woman.
Spider-Woman. Issue number 10. Part of the old Civil War thing.
Yeah. That didn't really bother me in this issue because it was a pretty fun issue.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the art as always, and the coloring is always so bright and vivid.
See, I had a problem with the art.
Really?
Because the art is, the breakdowns are Rodriguez, who normally does the art, but the actual finishes are Fish, and I thought that everything looked a little clunkier than what it normally would.
Than normal, I agree with you with that.
It's just not as slick as Rodriguez's stuff is. I mean, the setting seems the same. And like I said, that's because I think he does the breakdowns. He did the the original drawing, and then Fish goes back over and actually cleans it up and makes. I'm guessing that's how they're working together. I don't think it's that they're just doing the inking, but normally Rodriguez does all of his own work, and I mean, so it was okay. The colors help pull it together like it normally is. I mean, so it has the right colors in it to not make it too jarring. But I don't know. As I read it all the way along, I'm like, this is just not really Rodriguez's faces and stuff. I don't know.
It wasn't that drastic for me, so I still enjoyed it.
Yeah. But dialogue-wise, character-wise, the way they all act and whatnot, lots of fun, even for being a Civil War tie-in. It made sense as a Civil War tie-in because, she kind of talks about her misgivings about really not wanting to be doing this in the first place. She doesn't want to be involved in the whole, hero fight hero thing, and and she's on this quest to try and prove Ulysses wrong, so they'll shut this whole let's arrest people before they commit crimes thing, and then of course the end of it is pretty traumatic because in the end of this,
really light. It was really light, and then all of a sudden, it crashed at the end.
Right, because Jess calls up Carol and it's like, okay, you're right, I'm wrong, I'm an idiot. I mean, the guy seems to break us up, but I still don't really like the way this all is. She's just chatting away, and of course in the bar they're at on the big screen, it's got the news saying that Hawkeye has killed Bruce Banner. A preemptive strike, which is exactly what Jess is saying. Hey, this is the one thing we shouldn't do. We shouldn't do this. And she basically chucks her cell phone at the TV screen when she sees it, and that's kind of her stopping out. So, and I can't remember exactly what Carol says over the phone at the end of it, but it's the equivalent of "oh shit." It's kind of you just know it's coming. So the next issue, which is another Civil War tie-in, could be really, really good. I don't know how they tie it in really. I mean, how do they get Carol away from the actual Civil War book timeline-wise to fit in this potential conflict, which could be a really good story. I'm not sure. Because, of course, the Civil War thing, they've added an extra issue to it, and it's delayed.
Yeah.
just like the Secret Wars was. But yeah, still another one of my favorite. One of my favorite comics.
Yeah, it was just a good comic. It didn't matter that it was Civil War or whatever. So.
Right.
Enjoyable.
Yep. Definitely. The only other Marvel book I picked up was Iron Man or Power Man and Iron Fist. Yeah, get it straight. Mike, did you pick up this issue?
I did not pick up that one. No.
Because of the Civil War tie-in, is that why?
No, because of just being a heavy week and $4 book cutoff.
Cool. So this issue, a little more serious because, of course, it's dealing with some of the Civil War stuff on a personal level. Danny is in prison. He's been arrested for assaulting a police officer from the last issue, and he is trying to work from the inside to find out what's happening to the ex-criminal element and the element that's related to criminals, and they're all being kind of arrested and disappeared. And he's trying to figure that out, if that's part of the whole Civil War thing or if it's something else. While Power Man is on the outside trying to keep it together long enough to figure out a way to get Danny out of prison and not get himself involved in the whole Civil War thing. And by the end of it, he comes up with a wonderful idea. We're just going to go and break them out, maybe. We're just going to go break Danny out. We're just going to walk up to the prison, punch the walls down, and get him out, which, of course, is crazy. And at the very end of it, it has Ulysses predicting that Power Man is going to do a jailbreak, and all of Carol's group is gathering up their gear to go racing down to stop him from doing a jailbreak. So, as much as they don't want to be involved in the Civil War stuff, clearly they're going to, because their actions are going to be met by Carol and her arrest them before they do it force. So, it's still an interesting issue. I did enjoy it. As far as an event book, it like Spider-Woman feels personal enough that it doesn't, the big picture thing isn't bogged down by it. So I enjoyed it for that.
Which artist is that?
This one was Green and Fabiano. So I think they both do some work in it. Fabiano is the guy that looks kind of like Green's work. Green is the one that you decided that maybe Sanford Green's one you decided maybe you didn't like because you didn't like the way he did the what's her name at the end of that arc. Yeah. And Fabiano is the other artist that does some of the work. So it's kind of a mix of the two of theirs. Some of the pages are by one and some of them are by the other. I really can't tell the difference. It all kind of looks the same to me. So they mirror each other well enough that I thought it was fine as far as that goes. There was nothing really strange in it, art-wise. So.
All right.
Did you pick this up, Mike?
Yes, I did.
Cool. What'd you think?
I've really enjoyed this, and I think this continues to show Aaron's great writing style and Dodderman's amazing art. And I just love that ending at the last page.
Yeah, that was really cool. I don't know what that means.
What we have is that S.H.I.E.L.D. has figured out that Jane Foster is Thor. They are going after her for, I think, some petty stuff. And we see the confrontation that between S.H.I.E.L.D. and her, and at the very end, they go to arrest her. She is shot by Midas's daughter, some dominatrix, with a bullet that can kill anything. And it hits her. Thor reaches out her hand and catches the bullet, but it's still going to kill. I mean, she stops the bullet, and it looks like it's starting to spread like a virus through her arm. Mm. And then, just for everybody to know, spoilers, here it comes. A portal opens behind her, and out steps Jane Foster.
Wait. Jane Foster steps out, but Jane Foster's Thor, right?
Right.
What I'm guessing is it's probably going to be Loki in disguise, because I know he needs to get involved.
Yeah.
So.
I figure it's something like that.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, it actually took me a while after I originally saw it, because I got all excited about it and the ending, and I'm like, oh no, wait, it makes sense. This is how we do it usually. So.
Those S.H.I.E.L.D. agents were kind of jerks.
So, are the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents trying to leverage her to do something for them? I mean, is that what they're trying to do? Is get her under their control?
I think
what's
so.
What's the purpose of trying to arrest her? I mean,
and I think it's a rogue group because Thor is working with Thor's old girlfriend Solomon, and the two of them are just excellent together. And Solomon even tries to tell the other agents to stand down, but these guys are kind of a rogue element. They want to take Thor down, and I guess it's because A, they weren't sure who she was, and now they do, and B, yes, they probably want her to be their magic weapon.
But they were like coming as backup because they were in trouble, and then when they showed up, they weren't really backup. They were there. They didn't care. They just wanted Thor. So I was like, that's kind of crappy to not even help out another SHIELD agent before you arrest Thor.
so do you think they'll use the evil deadly bullet to kill her cancer?
I have no idea what's going to happen with that. I mean, she's turning into a gold statue right now, pretty much. So.
But actually, that's a great idea. I wonder if that doesn't help out somehow. But, I guess it all comes down to, do they want to make the cancer a major factor, or do they want to, I don't know, maybe it belittles it to have a magic bullet that gets rid of cancer?
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of hope it doesn't go that way, but guess we'll see.
So
I hadn't thought of that. That's actually a great idea.
Well, I don't just curious. I'm always curious as to how they're going to handle that, or if at some point she really is going to,
Well, she could possibly just stay Thor all the time, right? And then the cancer doesn't progress. So that's an option, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah.
She could give up her old life,
Which is an interesting story too. That making that sacrifice, yeah.
Which is kind of what I was hoping was going to happen, but I mean the other could be interesting too, I guess. I don't know. Seems more emotional this way than a magic bullet fixing things.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was just making wild guesses. I'm not reading the book, so shame on me because it sounds awesome all the time.
It's a really good book. I really enjoy it.
Yep, and then I can't wait for the next issue. I mean, this is definitely a $4 comic that keeps me wanting to pay $4.
Right on.
Yeah. And I got Gwenpool, which I dropped because it's not a bad comic at all. It's a good, fun comic, but it's not worth the price for me. Paying $4 for it. When I've got so many books that I read, I've really been trying to cut back. So, I mean, it's really cute. I like the idea. There's funny things in here, like she meets Miles Morales in this one, and they're kind of going to team up, I guess, in the next issue. They do a little bit of teaming up in here, but not really. Mostly her meeting him, and in one of the earlier issues, one of her friends that she had met died, which made her kind of realize that death is really possible, and she started freaking out because she didn't want to die, and then she figured out the way not to die is to be the hero, so she's trying even more, you know what I mean? Because otherwise she's going to get canceled, and she knows she's from like the real world and somehow got into the comic book.
She's going to get canceled.
But she refuses to talk about it, like how she got there. But her power is basically she's a huge comic nerd, and she knows all these Marvel characters. So she kind of would know all their weaknesses and such of that nature. But she doesn't really have any powers other than that, So she's just a regular person. She meets Miles, and she knows who he is. She tells him, and he's like, "How do you know that?" And she's like, trying to think of a way to tell him, and she tells him that she's a normal girl who is gifted with secret knowledge from a dying watcher. And
slick, really slick.
Yeah, she just, and she's got the boy that died is now back as a ghost. and their interaction's kind of funny. So I mean, it's a funny book. It's well written. This is a fill-in artist, which is a little more anime-ish, I think, than the other artists. But it's a cute, funny book. It's just not worth the price, you know.
Sure.
If it was $1 cheaper, even, I would probably hang on to it. But yeah, maybe I'll pick it up in trade or something.
I can't even begin to imagine to read that. Since how it combines two characters I absolutely can't stand. So, I mean, you make it sound great. You make it sound great, but
she's not Gwen Stacy.
Right.
That's one of the things Miles he says in here. You know, what is it with Spider-Man and Gwen's or something like that? You know, and Gwen Stacy's. That's what he says, and she's like, just because I'm a Gwen doesn't mean I'm a Stacy, because she's Gwen Poole, Poole, I guess.
Right.
So that's her name. So that was kind of funny too. That she's not. I'm kind of glad she's not actually Gwen Stacy.
Right.
That makes it a little more interesting to me too.
Right.
Yeah. It's not a bad book. It's just I have way too many books. I didn't even get all my books read yet. So.
Yep. It's definitely a good reason to cut, if nothing else. If you can't, manage the pile, that's usually my breaking point. How many can I get read? If I can't get them read, something needs to go. So, for sure. Any other Marvel books?
That was my last. Yep.
That's it for me.
Marvel news?
Oh, geez.
The only thing I can think of course, is the fact they did pick a Gwen Stacy, right? For the
Mary Jane.
Mary Jane, I mean, for the new movie. Looks awesome. As far as
yeah. No, I think it's totally a smart pick.
I don't
really know the actress that well, so I mean, I hope she can act. But other than that, she's beautiful.
Yeah. I'll be quite honest. Chances are I will not see the movie until it's like on Netflix or something. So it's not that big a deal to me. I know that some people are excited in a positive way and excited in a negative way about it, but so.
Also, Hulu is going to do Runaways series.
Yeah, and that's a serious thing too. I mean, we're not like, it's not like, oh, maybe they're gonna, but I mean,
no,
it's
they're
actual.
definitely making it. So that's pretty awesome. Runaways was one of the comics that I first read when I got into comics, so I'm excited for that.
Yeah, the only thing that sucks for me is I don't have Hulu, so I guess I'll be picking up yet another streaming service, I guess.
Yeah.
So I can see it, but yeah. Any other? Can't think of any other.
I don't know any other Marvel news off the top of my head.
Yeah. Can't think of anything either. So we'll roll on to DC then.
Yep.
Okay.
Just to let you know, Mike, we lost your picture. We still hear you just fine. But...
Yeah, no, and I did that because I realized how much I was lagging, so I figured.
Okay.
You got enough pretty shots of me at the beginning. So.
Sure. Okay. So what DC book can I talk about first?
Squad.
Want to talk Suicide Squad? Oh boy, everybody from the '90s get all excited. Jim Lee's on a not only a monthly book, he's on a bi-monthly book.
Sorta. I guess I had forgotten what I knew him from. Then I kind of Googled it, and I was like, oh, I remember the X-Men and his work. I feel that this was nowhere near the quality of that.
Yeah. Or if you're a DC person, it's Hush, right? So. So it's actually Suicide Squad's being run as two stories. There's a story at the beginning, a story at the end. I think that's how it's going to run at least as long as Jim Lee is on the book, because I don't think that he can. I don't think realistically he can keep up with a monthly book. I don't see how he's going to keep up with this, to be honest, either. And so both stories are written by Williams. Jason Fabok does the art in the back. I prefer Fabok to Lee. I'm really, you know what? I mean, I know it's heresy and all, but I've never been that big of a Jim Lee fan. He's fine, but his style of art hasn't evolved and holds some of the elements of 90s art that doesn't excite me. It's not as bad as, it's not Liefeld, it's not, oh shoot, we were just talking about him and I can't remember his name now. The guy who's doing Titans right now.
Oh.
Booth, yes, it's not Booth. He's not stuck that bad, but it's still kind of the same. Anyway, what did we think of the Suicide Squad?
I got really worried as soon as they said anything, when Croc said anywhere but space. I saw the whole flashback of Batwoman right in front of me.
Yeah, it was kind of that way.
It was, yeah. It was very scary.
Yeah. I don't know. Jen, did you get this?
Yeah, I got it. I thought it was just okay.
Okay, I'm gonna pull the Band-Aid off. I didn't care for it. I thought Waller's characterization in this, as opposed to Rebirth Waller felt some okay. Here, this entire opening act of the story that's at the front felt like it was paying weak homage to the movie.
I did feel that too.
And if I hadn't watched the movie, I don't know how I would feel about this, but it really does, in a lot of ways, feel that way. There's not a single character in here that felt nailed down to me. It didn't feel, none of the characters felt like, oh, they're taking them someplace different with this new, with the relaunching of Suicide Squad. And none of the characters, to me, did it feel like, wow, they nailed that. Boy, the voice of that person is just perfect with any of these people. I mean, they were caricatures of the caricatures. Granted, it's only the first issue, and the main story is only, 10, 12 pages long, I think. And then you had the little backup thing.
But that's why I felt like when you read that backup story, it just showed the flaws of the beginning story, because I love that backup story. If each one is a character shot, I mean, with those few pages, they told an amazing story with amazing art in the back.
Yeah.
I like the art. I still don't know that I cared for the story itself, and I don't like the portrayal of. I don't. Waller is threatening. I guess for me, she's threatening in a way that I don't feel like Waller needs to threaten in. It seems very not subtle. I don't know. There was something about it that I like the backup story better than the front, but I'm not really excited about it. And even the backup story, to some degree, feels like it's it's playing with the movie. Oh, how do you get caught? Because he was hanging out with Batman, and
All right.
I mean, I don't know. I'm gonna keep reading it for a while. I like the Suicide Squad. I like who the characters are. I like all that whatnot. I don't know. In the comment section, Jacques Yo says, "I bet Jim Lee hasn't drawn the first page of issue 3 yet, and issue 3 comes out in 5 weeks." So, and yeah, I mean that's, yeah. I wanted a lot more from it, I guess, especially with the way some of the other Suicide Squad stuff that we've read has been. That's been pretty solid. The ending of the New 52 Suicide Squad I thought was really good, really solid, enjoyable story. This felt like a lot of steps backwards. And I don't know if it's because of the movie and they're just kind of, oh, we need to make sure we're, I don't know.
I don't know. I'm kind of disappointed that
I always
they
think
made
that's
it
tough
like the
because
movie.
I don't feel that I don't feel that they get as many people to buy it from the movie as they lose sometimes by making it bad after the movie.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know where that really is. I don't know if it's a fair comparison to say it feels like this, but maybe maybe the writers were both of the movie and of the comic book just were in the same zeitgeist of this is how I want it, this is kind of what I want to tell or whatever, kind of a thing. I don't know. There was some. I mean, the first story, the kind of some of the harrowing moments. I mean, oh no, Croc's got drowned in his own vomit. That's to show Flag that Flag cares for these people. I don't know. It's a lot of stuff in it that is. No, I just didn't. I didn't care for it. So.
Well, and especially, I mean, if Deadshot can't shoot his mask or the guy's bubble off, or Boomerang can't boomerang. I mean, each of these guys are supposed to be super villains. I expect that Flag doesn't have to take off his seatbelt and climb across this, I don't know, super ring of death. Because that all seemed really bad too, yeah.
Yep. Would have been better if Clayface was there. They could have rode down him, right?
Yes.
Alrighty. What else do we want to talk about? I know that Wednesday Serial is sitting in the audience and he wants to talk Aquaman. I need to go and watch his video. I guess he gives high praise to Aquaman. Am I the only one here that's reading Aquaman?
I might pick it up in trade because I do like Aquaman and I like Mera. I don't know. I wasn't sure after I saw some of the art stuff in the beginning. I saw some really great art and I saw some really bad art, and I was like,
yeah, the really great art there hasn't been a whole lot of. I'm assuming it's Brad Walker you saw, and he hasn't done much in interiors. I think one issue is all I think I've seen him do interiors on, if I remember correctly. So this is issue number 5. I already dropped this as far as my pre-ordering in advance. This is the first wave of the Rebirth books. This is one of the books I dropped, not because it was awful. It just wasn't really engaged. This issue number 5, I actually liked. It got a little more intriguing, a little more interesting. I kind of feel like the main thing is Aquaman is trying to bring Atlantis, normalize relationships with the rest of the world with Atlantis is what he really wants to do. Tired of the conflict, tired of everybody being afraid of each other, kind of a thing. And it's all going really wrong for him. There's somebody is manipulating things in the background and causing conflict between the United States right now and Atlantis. This issue, they've kind of broken out. Well, Mera has broken Aquaman out because Aquaman was arrested for a little bit. Not going really well. It's just, of course, cementing further that he's a terrorist, that they're a terrorist state, because they're wrecking all these Marines and stuff that are attacking him. Of course, they're attacking him and trying to use lethal force, so they're fighting back. To me, it seems simple. I mean, I love the idea of it, and I think it could be really complex, but they never get complex with it. So I haven't been terribly intrigued up until this issue. Like I said, I like this issue partially because there's a Royal Navy officer who's been assigned to be like a liaison with Atlantis, and she shows up in this issue kind of at Arthur's earthly land home, the lighthouse kind of thing. So I'm curious about that aspect of it. But this issue is really interesting because, of course, they're walking through the suburbs of DC, kind of wrecking everything as they go, fighting off the army, and the United States calls in Superman at the end of this to show up and kind of make Mera and Aquaman dial it back. In what way, I'm not exactly sure. So I'm curious to see that conversation. Not 100% sure if I'm going to, because I can't remember if this is the last issue I get or if I've still got a couple more coming and whatnot. So if you want a better sales pitch on Aquaman, probably go check out Wednesday's Serial video. I haven't seen it yet. I'm planning on going to watch it so I can have a conversation with him about Aquaman, but I wasn't super excited. But I'm not a big Aquaman fan. I admit right up front. It falls into the category of Green Lantern and The Flash. It just doesn't generally interest me. But this one was okay. So yeah, I'm not the person to get a ringing review from to go pick up Aquaman and trade. What else? What else do we get? I know Jen's got some other books that I got. How about Green Arrow? Mike, you reading Green Arrow still, right?
Yes, indeed.
Issue 5, what do we think?
I really feel like it's trying to become more of a team book. Compared to other readings I've done with Green Arrow, I really felt like this one really tried to spread out and tell a lot of people stories in this. That, I mean, he's got all these teammates in different places on the ship, so it just felt like it took quite a bit away from him. But of course, I did like how it progressed. It's still flowing fine. Fiora art is really selling me still, and I'm enjoying it.
Okay. Jen?
I didn't love this issue as much as I've loved some of the other issues. Maybe it was a little too spread out for me between the characters, like you said. I love the art, though, and the book overall, I've been enjoying it. So, if something just didn't work for me with this issue and in the flow of it.
Okay. I'm still really enjoying Green Arrow, having a lot of fun with it. I don't have a problem with the larger cast. I guess with my reading experience with Green Arrow, other than like the Grell run, where he was kind of a lone wolf, a lot of the other runs, when you get like Brad Meltzer's run on it, Kevin Smith's run on it, who else? Judd Weddick, those guys before the 52, they always had a cast of characters. If it wasn't Black Canary was around, there was a Speedy around, there was Connor, the other Green Arrow. So I mean, there's a cast of characters. So and I always enjoyed that. So I guess I don't have a problem with the larger cast of characters. The Emmy part where she kind of goes, oh yeah, I knew that. I mean, I kind of knew that she clearly wasn't the bad guy. She was working it from the inside. But that was kind of a weird conversation, just how that played out. That part didn't play out as well as what I thought it could have as far as that part of it goes. I'm a little weirded out by his concern. I want there to be some more conversation about him with this kind of, he's still money obsessed, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, oh, I can't blow this ship up because this is like, this is like Uber Bank. If I blow it up, all this money's going to be lost. If I can take it, then I can spend it for all this good and whatnot. I'm looking forward to more of those conversations. We kind of keep flirting with the idea of it, so I'm hoping we're going to get more of that part of it. I don't know, as far as breaking into the big villain headquarters and confronting the bad guy and all that, I kind of like that part too. It was a little more scattered, though. It was less focused. Stuff just kind of, elements kind of happened. I'll agree with that. But I'm still enjoying it. I'm looking forward to what's next. I mean, because clearly we know, they've kind of been separated. The group's been separated. They've lost some of their people that they'll need to get back and whatnot. So,
I think the problem I have is I'm comparing it with the Lemire run, and he had almost always a villain that he could go one-on-one with, and I think I got longer battles and more ideas on special shots, trick arrows, things like that. And I think sometimes that's my image of Green Arrow.
Sure. Matt, Wednesday Serial, is asking me if I will release him from Green Arrow. I take it Matt isn't caring for Green Arrow. That's cool. You don't want to read Green Arrow, that's fine. You read the good stuff already, so Matt, you're good to go. Maybe you can point out to me where the good Aquaman stuff is. any rate, but
The ending.
yes.
Well, I mean, we're going back to the island.
Yeah, I don't know how excited I am about that.
And
Yeah,
that's
so
why I wondered.
so the ship goes down, right? The ship goes down. Oh no, castaways, yes again, and yeah, I do admit I love the last line. He's on the island. They back up from the island. It's clearly the island.
Yes.
And of course, his last line is "not again," because I
Mm-hmm.
think maybe as fans we might feel that way too.
Well, and when you're talking about the loss of money and all that, I mean, I worry that that is going to hit the back burner because we spend now 3-4 issues on the island, maybe a whole trade on the island. How are we going to feel about that? Because it's not going to do any of the storyline telling.
Sure. Yeah, it'll be. Yeah, I guess we'll find out, right? Because we're suddenly. I mean, if he's stuck on the island, he's suddenly not a superhero anymore, right? He's not going to be doing superhero stuff. He's going to be doing whatever else. I mean, maybe
Survival, yeah.
he may be a hero on the island, but generally when they put you on a deserted island, it's about self-reflecting and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yes.
So I guess we'll find out. I will say one more thing. I like the interaction between him and Black Canary in this, where he's like, she's all pissed because he didn't tell her that he was still alive, and he's like, well, you said you wanted space, and I wasn't even sure, and of course, she pretty much slaps him and says, look, that's my thing. I walk away, you're supposed to chase, come on. So
Yeah.
I like that. I did appreciate that. So yeah. And next issue I think is Schmidt back on the book, Otto Schmidt, I think, right?
Yes, I believe so.
Which I'm looking forward to that. I really enjoyed those first issues that he was on. So the people doing the art duties in the book are great. So
Yeah.
I'm still really pleased with Green Arrow. I'm really pleased with where it's gone, and I think this first 5 issues were exciting and entertaining issues. And I guess we'll see what the island is like. I have to admit I'm a bit nervous about the island thing because the book could really slow down if he's stuck on a deserted island when it's double shipped, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And I don't know about you, Mike, with us having read Percy before in the New 52, if there isn't stuff really happening, I get nervous.
Yeah, and because he did get really flat. I mean, even when they were just doing one a month, and there was some stuff that really could have happened, or he goes crazy and goes werewolf. I don't, there's the two extremes with him.
Yeah, for sure. What else? What else you got, Jen?
I got my last issue, I think, of Green Lantern.
You too, huh? Yep.
Yeah. I actually enjoyed this issue more than some of the other issues. It was better, but I don't know. I mean, and there have been Green Lantern stories that I loved. I'm not like anti-Green Lantern or anything, but yeah, it's just not doing it for me.
Yeah, the idea of the characters and stuff I want to get behind. I want to be a fan of. It's just not totally being sold to me or something. I'm not sure exactly what it is. I always keep complaining that they just keep running over the same issues that the characters have and not really doing anything with it. Just spending a lot of time in dialogue boxes saying the same thing over and over and over again. So, I mean, more stuff happens in this issue and whatnot. We get a little more Next Star, which is always cool, a cat that vomits, plasma is always a cool thing. Yeah, I mean, I have no problem with the fact that I'm dropping this too. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. Other than, like I said, it's a diverse cast, and I would like it to do well. It just hasn't grabbed me. Wasn't awful. I mean, it's not awful. I just there's elements.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't have the ability to read what I'm getting now and time for, the show, so
Right.
I gotta cut somewhere.
Well, for me, it's not just an ability to read it for the show. It's that I have this kind of time to read
Well, right. I mean, but even later on,
Yeah.
I have other things I'm doing. I try to get it done on the weekend. So.
Because I like picking on books. I'm not going to really pick on this, but I did get Harley Quinn issue number 2.
I haven't read it.
Okay. It's more like what it is. I mean, it's no different than the first stuff I read when this style of Harley Quinn book first came out. It's more of that. I'm pretty sure I only read about 3/4 of this issue. It just is not my thing, and so there's no reason for me to continue to bag on it for that. I mean, I get it because it's part of a block deal of books, and that's why I end up with it. Yeah. If you've been digging the book, it's another awesome issue. If you're like me, you just kind of go through as much of it as you can. And I don't think there was a beaver joke in this issue, though, so I guess there's that going for it. But
I don't know. It goes like up and down for me. It'll start to come out of being so juvenile in the humor, and I'll enjoy it again, and then it goes right back, and I'm like, oh, maybe I should drop it.
I have a hard time even reading her dialogue because she, as my knowledge of English fails me suddenly. Alliteration, right, where you say greasy, grimy, gopher guts, right? That's alliteration, I think is the literary term for it. Lots of her speech is alliterations, so I mean, I know she's supposed to be silly, but that's like over-the-top silly how often her stuff doesn't rhyme, but it's like how many times can we start the... it seemed like. Now that I've said that, of course, I can't find anything that's that way, but I don't know. Yeah. I'm not gonna talk about it anymore. I feel bad. I feel bad picking on it because it's not like it's a bad book. It's just so not for me.
It just makes you roll your eyes a lot.
Yes. Yeah. Do we want to talk Batman? Get that up.
Sure.
Because me and Jen, full disclosure, me and Jen have already talked about this book quite a bit. Us and Comics to Comics chatted on Twitter about this book. Issue number 5, I think I like most of it until we get to the end, and then at the end it just gets really confusing. I almost said over complex, and it's not that it's complex, it just gets really confusing. You really have to pay attention to punctuation to try and figure out what the hell we're talking about. It's like the story is told in the here and now. The beginning of it, we've got Bruce calling Alfred saying, oh, this thing's going to happen here, I can't get there in time. We get this great moment of Alfred's basically having a conversation with himself about when Mr. and Mrs. Wayne, I think, probably told Alfred, hey, we're making you the executor of our will. You're going to be in charge of Bruce if something were to ever happen to us. And so it's this kind of cute conversation as he's getting his bat suit on, Alfred is, and getting in the Batmobile, and he's speeding towards Gotham, the character Gotham, who is kind of out of his mind and wrecking stuff. And he's zipping along, having this conversation, going, "Oh, sure, it'll be no problem. We'll drink lovely tea. We'll play board games at night, because we know you wouldn't be so silly as to walk down Crime Alley in the middle of the night, kind of thing." I mean, it's just funny. King's Alfred is just funny. He's sarcastic, and it's a funny sarcasm. And then we get towards the end of the book, and I don't know. I mean, there's some cool stuff in here. Gotham clearly has a bunch of power. We start to find out we don't know where they get their power from. That's still a mystery. But we find out how the power works. It's like they've got like a 2-year lease on their power. And they can use that however they want to. If they use it all at once, they're going to die really fast. They only live for less than 2 years. Or they can stretch it out, it sounds to me like, right? Isn't that kind of how it works?
Yeah, if she didn't use it at all, then she could live a long time.
Right. Right. So, but clearly Gotham is in a rage. He is amping his power up. He's gonna kill Batman. He was gonna kill all of Gotham because he figures he can't fix it. I'm gonna kill it. Then Batman cons him into thinking that, well, it's really Batman's the failure because Batman's the person that got them mugged. That didn't save them from being mugged and didn't save his parents. So he goes after Batman. And at the last moment, they call in the Justice League, and the Justice League shows up. All right. Which is kind of a cool moment. He shows up and gets just wrecked by the Justice League. And they're like, hey, we're Batman's friends, and we don't particularly care for you. But Gotham has got lots of power. And he starts to has a punch out with him. And he punches a hole through Cyborg. Cold Cock Superman. He's kind of wrecking everybody. And then at the last moment, Gotham Girl kind of gets convinced that she can be brave, and she charges in and takes out her brother. But the last 2 pages, the story is told all, like I said, it's told all in the present, but the last 2 pages, her dialogue boxes become future tense, right? I mean, she basically says, and she says later after we're married, and who's the we that she's married to?
Well, I'm pretty sure it's Duke.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because she says after we were married, and then she says we visited. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's just weird. It's just all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And none of the story up until this point has been told in future tense, right?
Right. No,
I can't remember the first. Right. I can't remember the first 4 issues doing that. So suddenly changing the tense of the story, telling us that there's a future, and the future is cemented in some way, is really weird to me. It's jarring. It's not like another Tom King book, The Vision. The book has always been kind of written that way.
Right.
There's this narrator over narrating, saying, "Oh, this is where we're going to get to. All this stuff is going to happen." So it's finite. You start the story out knowing there's going to be an end. Batman doesn't have an end. Batman's an ongoing book that's going to last for forever, right? Or has lasted for forever. So the assumption is that this. So telling a future tense story suddenly 5 issues in is really weird, unless the title of the next issue is Gotham Girl Year 1, which let's quit with the Batman Year 1 stuff. But anyway, unless that whole story is going to be told in that future tense, it's really strange. Unless this is somehow she's like in her own head being weird because she's been messing with my Psycho Pirate so much. That's stretching. I mean, I floated that when me and you were talking before. To me, that feels like a big stretch to say, because we've seen so little of Psycho Pirate to know that that's really. I mean, they flashed a Psycho Pirate once and said, "Oh, he's responsible," and that's kind of it. So I don't know. I continue to find the book really confusing, and at the same time intriguing to read. I don't know that I find Batman enjoyable right now. It's just strange. I'm reading it more for the wondering how this is going to work. It's more of a, that's why I'm reading it as opposed to, I'm going to read Batman book. It's more, wow, how are they going to tell, what is going on? Because I still don't understand the voice, as I say every 2 weeks when I talk about the book.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good, fair criticism. Eventually it's got to go somewhere, right? I'm hoping, I'm sure we all hope somewhere it's not really Batman dying and that whole story again.
Right. Yeah. I can't imagine that we're gonna wipe him out. I mean, I don't know. I don't know that I don't know that end of that made it feel like it was gonna happen anytime soon. But just sometime, because sometime in the future Batman dies, right? We assume Bruce Wayne at some point, if nothing else, he dies of old age.
Right. So it could just be that generally, sometime in the future.
But to me, it seems strange in issue 5 of a new run of Batman to tell us that sometime in the future she gets married to Duke, and that they come and memorialize, anniversaryize this event.
Right.
Seems really, really weird.
I think he would say that for a reason of some sort. I don't know. And like I told you guys before, I'm just like super paranoid about the Watchmen entering at any point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess I'm not so worried about the Watchmen aspect of it because I don't feel like they're just gonna drop. They're gonna just drop that in the book somewhere. That's gonna be part of some event. It's not like they're not just gonna slip things in. I don't think. So I'm not so worried about it.
I don't
But
know. I just worry that it's going toward that point. You know what I mean? Like they've got it planned out somehow. The Batman book itself, you know, to be a part of some of the big event, you know.
yeah.
And maybe Batman dies or comes back that way. I don't know. I just hope not. I don't know. Probably just be paranoid.
No, I mean I don't think it's a unjustified worry. I'm just living in denial because of course I've been living in denial since the whole Rebirth thing that the Watchmen thing is not going to get tied in any more than just what little weird stuff they did there. But they've since kind of hinted that something is going to come down the road that's going to have that when they're ready to do it, whenever that is, kind of thing. So I don't think it's that it's not a legitimate concern. So.
And it always seems like DC wants to put some kind of definite futures in a lot of their books, because I remember, like that one with the eye and the Future's End.
Future's End. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's a lot of those where it's like, you know, in 10 years, in 15 years, you know, so they set up all these, it has to be this way, then they have to restart the whole thing to stop it from happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That just never happened to me because, I mean, even in Future's End, Duke was like a teenager there, wasn't he? I don't know. It's been a while since I've read it, but, I mean, I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things about the DC universe that you can either love or hate, I guess, is that it deals in multiverses. I mean, that's something that's always been a part of DC. I love that. I mean, for me, I love the death that there's all these different universes out there and whatnot, and they can slip and things mix up and along the way and whatnot. So, you know, maybe it's a cosmic cop-out to sometimes have that be, oh, this is a different universe, or this is a shift, or this is whatever it is kind of thing. But for me, I always enjoy those kinds of stories. You know, always have. So I don't worry about them telling me that there's an ending. For me, it's just the whole understanding how stories are written and how they're told and whatnot. The end of this is just really weird. Actually, the whole thing's weird. But that ending just suddenly, I don't know, that change of tense like that just seems really odd.
I guess we'll have to see what happens.
You know, and they do everything they can to not make Batman a voice in the book. He's just not a voice in the book. So it's just strange when it's his book. So
you get Gotham Girl, you get Alfred, you get you know what I mean?
Right.
Other people.
Right.
But Batman's kind of blank.
Yeah.
You know?
Other than that first issue with him kind of being a whiny baby while he's riding the airplane about whether or not it's a good day to die. Kind of thing. Other than that, so. Mike, did you read any other DC books?
I spent my $8. I got my Legends of Tomorrow.
Right on.
This has been very good. I mean, it's a square-backed book. It's $8, but it's 4 different stories: Firestorm, Metamorpho, Sugar and Spike, and Metalman. Firestorm and Metamorpho has been, it feels like for those people who have not got to see them in other books, it's like, here's this, we've established they're still our characters, we know you need something, enjoy. It seems to just be retellings of origins, though. Sugar and Spike has been the the secret wonderful stories that I can't believe has been hidden somewhere, and they're right and wonderful. They're selling it. I would buy a Sugar and Spike comic. It's been very good. This one was a Legion of Superheroes comes back in time to have Sugar and Spike stop an item from being made because it then becomes a bigger issue in the future. And then another Legion of Superheroes shows up, and then another Legion of Superheroes shows up. So we got that time variance issue where all these alternate legions of superheroes keep coming to stop this event.
I saw that in previews coming up they're putting that, at least that storyline is coming out in a trade. So I figure I'm probably going to check it out.
Yeah. And lastly, the reason I bought it was the Metal Men. I've enjoyed the Metal Men story. They usually only do very quick, small ones, or they appear in other people's books. But this is very good. They fight Chemo. There was an additional group of Metal Men made to counteract the Metal Men that we have. The traditional group versus a brand new one. The villain then ends up destroying half of the people. So at the end, we have a brand new Metal Men group of a mixture of the two. So, you know, I would say get it for Metal Men alone. It was wonderful.
Cool. Oh, let's see. Another book I know that Jen picked up. Batgirl and the Birds of Prey, issue number 1. This is the official start of the run. What do you think? What do you think, Jen?
I liked it better than the last issue. They're starting to feel a little more like a team now, which is what I like. You know, it's not quite there yet, but it's more enjoyable, I guess. The art kind of bugs me, and I know you don't mind the art, but it's a lot of inconsistency and then just weird stuff that throws you off. Like, when did that happen? Why is that there?
Yeah, so during the Rebirth issue, they had people's arms in the wrong places. I mean, you know, somebody's behind the wheel of a car and then suddenly not behind the car. One of the things that in this issue, you get to the end, you get this big, massive fight. They're in a garden. They're fighting a snake guy. There's snakes all over, and they're running all over the place. They're throwing batarangs, and all of a sudden, this random sofa crashes down. I mean, it looks like a sofa. I think it's a sofa. It's got pillows. Crashes down out of nowhere and kind of explodes and stuff. And I'm like, did that come out of Batgirl's utility belt? I'm going to throw the sofa batarang. I don't know. There's nowhere else in the book, in the story, that would be. It must be a piece of patio furniture, right? I don't know.
I guess so. I mean, there is a couch and like off the side with one of like those TGM ball things.
But why is it suddenly exploding?
Yeah, that's what I want to know. Like, how did it get where it is? You know, it's just like, okay.
And I agree with you. I mean, there are parts of the art that I really like. I like the style of art. I like the action. I like the panel layouts. I mean, you know, like this, for instance. You know, they're you know, throwing punches at each other and blocking and all. I love that. What I don't like, when you say inconsistency, I agree. People's faces don't look the same from picture to picture. I mean, I would think for it to be a successful comic book artist, you need to be able to draw the character in whatever position needs to be drawn in, or at least a headshot at every angle, and it be consistently looking the same the entire, whatever angle it is. And these characters don't. You know, Batgirl's face is probably one of the worst when she's wearing the mask versus not wearing the mask, and it's not because, oh, you know, the mask covers her whole face up and then her chin changes when her mask comes off, and of course the mask has nothing to do with her chin. Black Canary's face lots of time is inconsistent. But like I said, I mean, I like it otherwise. I think it's dynamic. It's just, so if that's what you're saying about being inconsistent, I totally agree. You know, that it's that like people's faces and stuff just aren't the same from page to page. And so that's kind of a bummer. The story's not, and the dialogue's not super great right now, but I feel like it has potential, and I feel like it's better than the last issue. I mean, these ladies that are working on the book, the Benson sisters, they're new to comic books. To the best of my knowledge, this is their first comic book work. They typically do TV work. So I think as they get probably a better handle on the whole thing, I think it will improve also. Yeah. I'm gonna stick with it for a while.
Definitely, there's enough there. I mean, and I think they have potential to make it really great. So.
Yeah. And I like the characters, and like I said, this artist sometimes does a really. I mean, the facial expressions are great. I mean,
That was what I was gonna say.
you get when people are annoyed or they or having a good time or are mad. It's just they don't keep the faces together. Yeah.
Yep. So it's just a little distracting.
And the one, it seems like every issue so far, one panel that you kind of go, what is going on?
What's going on?
Yeah.
Right. I'm starting to wonder if they do it on purpose.
Let's see if people are really reading the book or not. Funny. Let's see. I'll talk about a book I know you guys are getting. Superman, issue number 5. Mackie does the art on this issue, which I am not a Mackie fan, but with Mendoza, I'm guessing that's what's making it better, inking over the top of his pencils. I didn't mind the art in it. The story continues to be great. I'm really excited by the book. In this issue, Superman takes Lois and John, his son, to the moon, to Batman's secret base that nobody knows about that's on the moon. For those who were reading Batman and Robin in the prior New 52, they go to the moon once. There also, but Superman knows that it's there, but he's pretty sure Batman doesn't know that he knows it's there. Basically, he says, I took a book out of Batman's thing. Batman's always tailing me and watching me, so I decided I'd tail him and watch him for a while. So they go to Batman's secret base on the dark side of the moon because they're hiding from the Eradicator, who wants to kill John because John's an impure Kryptonian. So they're hanging out inside of the moon bat cave, and they get in a big fight with the Eradicator. Lois ends up, because Lois is just regular Lois. She ends up putting on Batman's hell suit that Batman used when he went to Acropolis.
Mm-hmm.
She ends up putting it on to help fight the Eradicator. It's a great issue. There's all kinds of exciting fighting in it, and Superman gets sucked up inside of the Eradicator. Superman's kind of doing this wheeling and dealing with these spirits of Kryptonians who are trapped in the Eradicator. They'd like to just kind of like pass on to whatever the next life is, but the Eradicator won't let them. So Superman is trying to strike a deal with the spirits to empower him so he has enough power to fight the Eradicator. But most of the issue is Lois and John running around the moon bat cave with the Eradicator chasing them, trying to stay one step out in front of him, just throwing back stuff at him, and it was fun. It's a fun issue. Tomasi and Gleason tell a great story, some fun voices. I will continue to say that it's different than when they were writing Batman and Robin, because they are different characters. I mean, yes, it is a father and son relationship, but they treat it differently, so it doesn't feel like we're just repeating the same thing. So that continues to make it enjoyable. And like I said, I was really surprised the Mankey art didn't throw me off like I thought it was going to. So yeah, definitely enjoying it.
And I think I saw, isn't like an upcoming issue going to have Batman and Damian?
Yes, there's a cover. There's a cover where it's
awesome.
Where on one side it's Superman and his son, and on the other side in a face-off it's Batman and Damian. And of course the adults, Superman's a much bigger guy than Batman is. They're giving each other the grimacing look. Damian, of course, looks like Damian, given the punk I'm superior than all of you look. And John is grinning his ears off like this is the best day ever. So I don't know what that story is going to be, but I'm super excited for it. So
yeah,
that's a great cover. I'd love to have poster size of that cover. Anybody out there that wants to check that out, you should hunt down that picture because it's awesome looking. For sure. Yeah. Any other DC books, Jen?
I got Justice League.
Okay. Issue number 3.
I think this might be my last Justice League book. So.
Oh?
I don't know. I'm not that into the Justice League, so it has to be really good before I stick with it. And I actually like this issue quite a bit, but overall, I think I'm just not. I don't know. It might read better for me in trade.
Okay. I don't know. I'm instantly sold on any book where a kid walks up to Batman and goes, "Batman, do you want a cookie?" So I don't know.
No, this is a great issue, and I kind of like a little bit like maybe I shouldn't have dropped it, you know.
Yeah. I'm a Justice League fan. I like the Justice League. As far as team books go, as long as you can kind of get a few things right, I tend to read it and enjoy it for being a team book. I know I'm not going to get certain things because it's a team book. I'm enjoying the issue. The bad guy in this, whatever this is, I think is interesting. I'm not sure it's actually the bad guy. This, what did they call themselves? Now I forgot what they call themselves.
Oh, geez. I don't remember either.
But they're like gathering. They like possess
Kindred.
people. What was it?
The Kindred.
The Kindred. That's right. They possess people, and the people are kind of molding together and turning into these like giant, like Titan-sized entities that are walking around, and they each of them look a little different. They glow different colors, and they kind of like embody a different thing. Some of them are embodying like the magic of the planet, and they keep talking about how this stuff's been robbed from them and whatnot. So our heroes are scrambling to try and figure that out. Wonder Woman is trying to rip the people back out of this stuff, and she gets sucked into one of the entities in the process because they say, hey, you're one of us, join us, you're part of it, kind of a thing. So she's got her own internal battle going on where she's kind of stuck inside one of the Titans. The Lanterns, that's the one part I was really kind of confusing. They're flying up to check something out, and suddenly they go through a wormhole, but we never see it. There's no panel that shows us that they actually travel anywhere. They're just kind of flying up into space, and all of a sudden, they're in a different dimension, and there's this broken up world, and they're starting to deal with, because there's also part of this whole thing that's going on, this invasion. There's like these little spacecraft, like bat drone type things that are flying around, attacking people and stuff. And so they're dealing with that. But that was the one part of the book I didn't really care for because it was like just suddenly they were in this place, and it's like they verbally said, oh, we must have traveled through a wormhole-like thing. But visually, there's nothing. There's nothing to say that. And that was really jarring and kind of weird. And then of course Superman gets shipped down into. They use the boom tubes from Cyborg and zap him to the core of the Earth, which I'm thinking that's crazy. What's he going to do when he gets there? Because there's these machines he's supposed to wreck. And of course he's struggling. I kind of like that. He gets there and he's like, oh crap! Now what am I supposed to do? I mean, normally if it's a machine, he'd wreck it by like zapping it with his heat vision. Well, it's at the core of the Earth. It's about as hot as it's going to get, kind of thing. He doesn't really have the kind of same super strength because the pressure, it's all being pushed in on him. So I'm intrigued by that. I enjoyed the issue.
This is probably my favorite one, so far. Yeah. Like I said, I kind of questioned whether I should drop it or not after that because it was a fun issue.
Yeah, and as a whole, I'm liking the characterization of everybody. Nobody's getting a deep treatment because there isn't room for that in a team book.
Right,
but nobody's.
That's my problem with it.
Well, and that's a fair criticism of just basically about any team book. When you start getting 6, 7, 8 characters in the same place, it's awfully hard to really address a lot. But I thought everybody seemed like who they would be. Nobody was jarringly off. And nobody was completely forgotten. So I'm going to stick with it for a while.
Cool.
I'm enjoying it. I have 2 other books. You got any more, DC?
I don't think I have any that I've read.
Okay. Are you reading Nightwing?
I am. I haven't read it yet.
Okay.
But go ahead. It's okay.
No, it's all right. I mean, I won't go into detail on it. It was all right. We cement a little more of who Raptor is, for instance, in this issue. They wander through a maze. Batgirl spends more time, shows up because, of course, Dick stands her up on her date. So she shows up concerned, that clearly he must be in a life and death situation if he didn't show up to her date, kind of a thing. And she kind of scolds him repeatedly through this because she kind of thinks that he's stepping farther into the dark than what he should. Kind of stuff goes on in it. It's fine. I'm not nearly as excited by Nightwing as I was by Grayson. But it's okay. I'm not hating it, but there's elements in it that I wish we would get past so we can move on to other stuff, maybe. I don't know. Or maybe I'm just not that interested in fighting the owls anymore. I'm not sure. Not sure what. There's some element that's not quite ringing true, but I'm not hating it. So, yeah. And the other one I got was Supergirl Rebirth. Did you pick this one up too, Jen?
I didn't.
Okay. So, starting with the new Supergirl, basically this issue was a decent Rebirth issue as far as Rebirth issues go, because I haven't been really caring for most of the Rebirth issues. This goes over some history, but what it kind of does is it takes a lot of the different quote-unquote origin stories and what's been happening in her comic in the New 52 and some of that kind of stuff, and takes bits and pieces of it and sticks it all together and starts over. So she is 16. She's only been on the planet for a little while. In this issue, she gets her powers restarted because she had lost her powers for some reason. We're not sure exactly why, but they ship her off to the sun so she can absorb enough energy from the sun and get re-engaged as Supergirl. She has human parents, but they're her handlers. She is, like I said, she hasn't been on the planet for a very long time, and she is going to live as her secret identity. She's going to go to school. She has to deal with all the regular school type things. She is 16 years old. They're going to tell that story of her being 16. If you're looking for the Supergirl that was all the up the skirt shots of her flying around and whatnot, you're not going to get that in this comic. They are treating her much more respectfully as far as that whole aspect of it and whatnot. I'm intrigued. I'm looking forward to reading it. Steve Orlando's writing it, the guy who was writing Midnighter. The art was decent by Luke Pacino. I'm not sure if that's who's going to be doing part of the art going forward, but I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see what can be done with Supergirl. A more fresh face. I don't want to say closer to the TV show, but closer to the TV show in the sense that it always feels to me like if you watch the TV show, it has a much more kind of a fresh face look to the character. She's upbeat. She's positive. That sort of thing. So it's going to make a brighter comic as opposed to some of the DC comics who get criticized for being dark and gloomy and that sort of stuff. So.
Is that monthly or bi-weekly?
That is a monthly book. That is going to be a monthly book. Supergirl is one of the ones that's monthly. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it is. That it's monthly. So, and then I'll make it at $2.99. That'll make it really easy for me to stick with it for a while and whatnot. I'll read it with my 15-year-old daughter, see what she thinks, and we'll have some fun with it, I think. So, and that's my DC books. Any DC news this week? I haven't heard of anything.
Nothing's coming to mind.
Yeah, I can't think of anything.
No new exclusives. I mean, it seems like here the last couple of weeks, every week we haven't heard of a new exclusive, but I didn't hear any of this week. So, should we roll on to independent books then?
Yeah.
Yep.
What do we want to talk? Mike, what'd you get?
Since it is August, I figure we would talk about Claws.
Oh, oh, oh! And he actually delivers that line in this as he's cleaving some monster's head into. Yes.
I thought it was pretty good payoff at the end. I mean, it was, it was the Santa story I guess I was waiting for. I mean, we had our Krampus monster, we had Santa, in all, I guess he's not in a full red suit or anything, but he's looking cool and he's,
I can get behind this Santa Claus being pulled by his, instead of reindeer, by his his white wolves and whatnot. Yeah. Yeah.
I also thought when the Baron got cooked by the Krampus, and he's still standing there, and he's just like, "Save my son," but he's just flayed. His skin is just off by the fire. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
visually, it was a very strong story.
Yeah.
And
Good.
it was even good. I mean, that the fact that they didn't gloss over the people hated the Baroness and the son. Even though she was somewhat innocent to all this, but she had turned a blind eye, but now she's with Santa, so almost still gets killed by the mob. So
Yeah. Right. Right. And then it doesn't just get blown off, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
There's the scene. There's the ho 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 scene as he chops the head off of the demon, the Krampus demon there. Yeah. The art, Dan Mora's art is just stunning. There we go. He flies off into the, I don't know, not sunset, whatever that is. His art is just stunning in this. For a Grant Morrison book, this was extremely tame, and
yes,
I mean it was very straight for Grant Morrison book, for a Grant Morrison story. Some of those early on issues we had some of the trippy stuff with the mushroom thing kind of deal, but otherwise,
well, and the fairy people did give him immortality and all this power and strength, and that's about as far out as it got. Yeah.
right, which is just their rationale for how it is that Santa Claus can do all the stuff that Santa Claus can do, basically. But the art, like I said, the art in it is amazing. It was a fun story. Like I said, largely about the art and whatnot. There's some good, definitely some decent elements in it. This is another one of those great panel as she gets older. I mean, they do a passing of time as the Baroness gets, old and stuff, and how they celebrate Yule time and all that. So yeah.
And it was originally sold to us as 6 issues, and then they added an extra issue. I don't know if that was needed. I mean, maybe towards the middle they could have pushed a little harder, but it was not horrible. So
yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed this issue, so having the extra issue for this was great, but I think you're right. There was some time in the middle that we could have truncated it and still made it 6 issues. But I'm not displeased because a large portion of this book is battle with the big demon and some elements and whatnot. Those were all visually really, really cool, so don't have a problem with that as far as that whole stuff goes and whatnot. But
yes.
it was odd. I mean, I'm surprised. I expected it to be nuts because it was a Grant Morrison book and whatnot. It really had no elements in it that made it Grant Morrison like. So.
Yeah. Makes me almost want to look back. I mean, there are editors. There's 2 editors on here, so maybe that's what helped out. The Harburn and Gagan. Maybe they kept him on track and calmed down.
I don't know. What was it? What was his desire to tell this story in the first place? That's the thing is. I mean, because large portions of it feel like, for us old people that have seen those old, claymation animated Christmas specials, the Christmas of Tomorrow. Well, I don't know which one it was, where they tell the story of Kris Kringle and how he came about. This story, except for a few elements, clearly the demon fighting part of it, but there's large elements that are exactly like that. So, I don't know. Seems strange to me. Yeah. Excuse me. Jen, what'd you read in Bending Wise?
Wicked and the Divine.
Oh, Wicked and Divine. Wow.
It was so good. I love this book. And just everything that went on in this issue was crazy.
Yeah, so I mean it basically kind of the premise of the larger story is we have this group of young people who are like reincarnates of gods. They live for 2 years. They inspire. They make the world bright and all of this stuff. And then they die. They once they're gifted, so they die young, but they they go out basically supernova and whatnot, and there's this Minder, Inca. She doesn't die. She's been around for hundreds of years, and she kind of directs these young deities to kind of keep them on the right path. Supposedly, she's like the house mother, basically, of them, and she finds the next new gods when these pass, and all of that. And this issue, I mean, some seedy stuff's been going on, and we've been slowly getting shown more seedy stuff. That maybe things aren't as simple as what it's kind of billed as. And this arc as a whole has been very action packed. The book is not like high action as far as like people running around and punching each other and fighting and all that kind of stuff. This arc has been a lot of that. It's just gotten very violent very fast. And this is the end of the arc. And in this issue, everything is blown up, basically. I mean, the whole what was going on. I mean, I'm apprehensive to talk about it as much as we spoil lots of stuff on the show. I'm apprehensive to talk about large chunks of it because I don't want to spoil it for the people who are reading it in trade, because it's not like a superhero book where you can kind of guess what's happening in it. But it's all thrown on its ear now. The whole system is now completely broken. I mean, like I said, we find out some people are pretty diabolical. That they're basically putting some people through a meat grinder because that's supposedly going to keep everybody else safe. So now that's been broken. So now what?
Yeah.
And they ask at the very end. I mean, they literally ask that. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? And Persephone goes, anything you want. So I don't know. It's going to be super. When's the next issue come out? We've got a break, right?
Yeah,
We've
I think it's got that like past history one, don't we?
Yeah. So yeah, in September we get this one-shot special that 1831 AD. We'll get this one-shot special, and then in November we come back. We come back with the back to the regular story, and that regular story, that issue is a special issue they've kind of been mumbling about for quite some time, and it's actually Kevin Wanda does some of the art along with McKelvey and Wilson, so that'll be interesting. And that's his art on the cover there. I know Kevin Wanda mostly from cover art, so I'm curious to see what he does for interiors. Super cool book.
Yeah, that's awesome. What else you got?
I read Black Road. This is issue number 5. And the story kind of gets thrown on its ear to some degree. We've had these two people. They've been running from people kind of hunting them down. They thought this blacksmith was coming to get them, and then suddenly, oops, it's not the case. There's a traitor in their midst, and it kind of changes the story. So now I'm excited to see where it goes, because we kind of, about the time us as readers, I think, settled into going, oh, well, it's this, it's a buddy book, and they're going and doing this thing, and now that's all been thrown kind of out the door. The goals ultimately are still the same, but the players that are involved in it have changed. But I'm really liking it. I'm really intrigued by it. They do a really good job of kind of continuing to fill us in on who these characters are that are in the book by giving us interesting flashbacks to go along with where they're at and what they're doing at the time. So, yeah, really enjoying it. Black Hammer. Anybody reading Black Hammer?
I am.
What did you think?
I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, it's cool. It's like it's this like homage to the Golden Age, but it's got this really eerie edge to it. It's funny. Jeff Lemire is, almost directly, well, in some ways, is ripping off like DC's Captain Marvel. Shazam, as they call him now. There's a
Uh-huh.
character in here that basically gets her powers from a wizard. She's a little girl. She says, the magic word,
Mhm.
and turns into this hero. And you get this kind of history of her going through that process, and she really doesn't like being the hero to start out with. And what happens is, it's like a reset button. So anytime she becomes the hero, when she goes back to being herself again, she starts back at being a 9-year-old girl. So we see in this that throughout time she's in college, and she sees somebody doing something really dangerous, like they're destroying the world. She's like, oh no, I really should help, but I don't want to, I don't want to turn into the hero, and when I come back, I'll be a little kid, and my college friends will laugh at me, and Billy won't ask me to the prom, and all this stuff. But clearly, she ultimately makes the choice to do it. So it's quite a dilemma for her. It's an interesting.
Is that how it works for her? Because I don't know. I was under the impression that while she was in the regular world and not in this area where they are now and can't escape, that she turned into a little girl, but then when she said it, she turned back to normal.
See, that wasn't the impression I got, because at the one point here.
And that's why she keeps trying to say the word over and over now, hoping that this time it'll change her back. But it doesn't work anymore. Because she becomes an old woman. She's like 60 years old, you know what I mean? And she likes turning into the little girl at that point because she can feel young again and do the things that she wants. But then she came to this place whenever they were fighting the bad monster or whatever, and they somehow ended up in this place she couldn't turn back anymore.
Oh, okay, because the impression that I got with these whole sequences of her aging and saying that power and whatnot was, I got the impression that she was.
That was not my understanding.
Oh, okay, so you're saying that as she gets older, she likes being the hero, because then she's she's kind of stuck in that middle-aged hero form. Because I got the impression where it's back earlier where she's worried about where she's worried about starting over.
See, I thought she was in like middle school, like high school or something at that point. And if she would de-age, people would see she was young again and make fun of her. You know what I mean? They would know it was her. And she would kind of be outed as that hero.
Oh,
so
okay.
It was embarrassing. That's why she didn't want to do it. I'm pretty sure that. Let's see what she said.
So I guess I'm confused. So the little girl form that's the form she takes when she's the superhero, but she has powers, and here she's stuck in the little girl's form, but doesn't have the powers to back them up. Is that what you're saying?
Right. She's just stuck as a little girl. She can't go back to being her right age. Yeah. She says, when I become Golden Gale, I change back into a little girl. And Brock Hansen is so dreamy. If he saw me like that, he'd never ask me to prom.
Okay. Because I got the impression that she was a reset, but that's okay. Okay, I get it.
Whatever happened, she was being a little girl and fighting. They were fighting the big bad, and then whatever happened, they don't actually know what happened, how they ended up in this place or whatever. But yeah, but she can't change back into an adult, and so she's lived all that time and been an adult, and she was really enjoying being a little girl at times. Like she could she could run and play and do things you can't do as an old woman, I guess,
Right.
So it was fun for her when she was old until this happened, and now she is stuck in a 9-year-old's body forever.
Right. Okay, even it being that way, I still really love the book.
Yeah.
It's right now, it seems very smart. I'm happy because lately Jeff Lemire books haven't seemed smart to me. They've been kind of a mess.
I agree.
But man, this is just really cool. All the other characters, they're like kind of like the Justice Society, but just a little bit odd, a little bit weird, a little bit kooky, a little creepy as far as they just have some eerie elements to them, but good emotion in it too. I mean, her struggle with being stuck, she should be a 50-some, 60-some-year-old woman, but she's stuck being a 9-year-old for forever. It sucks. She's having to deal with the fact that the guy that's kind of in charge, Abraham, he likes this. Everything's calm now. He's not fighting these horrible fights. He doesn't have to worry about dying. He's just being a farmer. He's happy. Nobody else there is happy. Everybody else wants to get the hell out of the place and go back to living whatever their lives are, or being whoever they are. So lots of interesting stuff. It's interesting that the witch woman, whatever her name is, she still has power.
Yeah.
She can cast spells and stuff still. So that was interesting.
And the one guy, he can like disappear to like a phantom zone type thing.
Right. Yeah. He's like a weird version of Adam Strange. Instead of going to taking the Zeta beam and going to that dimension, it's that sort of a thing. And he's crazy. He clearly is, I don't know, radiation sickness or whatever. He talks in weird ways. And he's all addle-brained and stuff. It's a cool book. The art is superb. Love the line drawings of it. Of course, Dave Stewart doing the colors. And these, this is the cover to the next issue. It's just such classic 1950s golden age, kind of a thing. But smart, but a smart book, kind of a thing. So.
Yeah, I almost didn't pick it up because of Jeff Lemire.
Right.
I'm really glad I did because it's been really phenomenal.
Yeah, I saw the artwork and I was pretty excited by that, so I thought, well, I'll give it a shot and see what it is. Plus the fact I like the Justice League and the Justice Society, and this seemed like I was going to be playing on that in some way. So I thought, oh well, I'll give it a shot. I mean, I think it's only like 5 or 6 issues, right?
Yeah, I think it's 6 issues.
Yeah, so I figured it wouldn't hurt me too bad, if it started to if it stunk in, and who knows if you'll land then. But right now, I'm enjoying the ride while it's happening. It's a surprisingly good book. Anything else, Jen?
I have one other book I read, which is PRD.
Sweet.
Which I never know how to talk about this book, I swear.
Yeah.
But I love it.
It's so dense because there's so much stuff going on. It's this huge world, and they take the time to tell you about everything that goes on in it. Largely, this issue takes place in Hell. Were you reading Hellboy in Hell?
Yes.
Okay, so having read that, what's going on in Hell. Hell has been completely overthrown.
Right.
Hellboy, while he was there, like sleepwalked, killed Satan, and Hell has been overrun. The slaves of Hell basically either kill or kick out all the dukes and everything and whatnot. But so we've got our Russian fellow with his bottled up little girl that he has let loose because he thinks that his only hope to save the world is to basically make a bargain with a demon, and hopefully Hell can save Earth. It's better to sacrifice a few souls to Hell than it is to have what's going on right now with these monsters crawling across the Earth, wrecking everything. So a lot of it is there. I think that's all really interesting. He is still dreaming of the woman he loved. Wanted to marry and have a life with. So he gets all that. We get down to Pandemonium, the city in Hell. They think that they're going to be able to get to Satan, and Satan's going to save them. And lo and behold, they find Satan dead on his throne, and this wicked old dagger, sword laying there, and the demon picks up the sword, and it's gonna move on. We don't know exactly what's going to happen. They throw us in some Dante in here from the Latin. So I had to go and look it up to make sure what she was talking about there, and she's talking about the Titans, because at one point the Russian guy's like, oh, I'm so mad, this is nothing like Dante's description of Hell. Where's Satan sitting on his throne and the giants and the Titans walking around. Well, they rise up in this one, because it's just, I don't know, it's a great book. And of course, in the regular, with the BPRD crew, they are completely abandoning their Colorado stronghold. So who knows what's going on with that?
Yeah.
But Lawrence Campbell does an excellent job of capturing all the BPRD Magnolia-esque darkness of this story and what's going on there. There's Satan is
Definitely.
cut off and whatnot, but you know the book ends with this her spouting some Dante's Inferno, and then this hand rising up out of the ground, and him going, you know, this is not what we planned, and then of course here's the shackled titans raising up out of the water that do stand around Satan and whatnot. So who knows exactly what's going to happen next, but it's still, and there's some creepy as hell parts in it too, where he's begging this woman that he loves to come back with him, and she says, "I will, once I get my fill." And you see baby heads, you know, small child's heads with their nasty teeth, but yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff. I have no idea exactly where it's going to go. I mean, I have no idea. I mean, I don't know. Is this all going to end and it's going to end, and there's going to be no more? I don't know.
Yeah, me either.
Because it is a book where they don't pull punches on killing people off. So I mean, everybody is fair game at any point, including the world itself. I think. I mean, I don't know that this thing won't get written out, that the world is completely overrun.
That's what I was thinking too. I mean, it's totally possible that they could fail. You know.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. I'll briefly, I picked up Rumble. This is issue number 13. Continues to be a awesome visual, good romp. We get some more story of our main hero trying to get back his body that's been captured by one of his arch enemies. And the arch enemies decide, why should I kill this body? I'm just going to use it. I'm going to run around and I'm going to just wreck everything that I want to wreck and stuff. Which is pretty exciting. And then Bobby, our main human character, kind of is trying to make amends with the girl that he thinks he's in love with, who a few issues ago he made really mad. But yeah, I still really like it. The James Herron artwork is just dynamic and awesome through the book, and that's always the really exciting aspect of it. The story itself isn't moving super fast, but it's still it's trippy and kind of cool, and I'm still really enjoying it. So.
I was gonna mention Manifest Destiny.
Nice. I love that cover.
Yeah. So issue 22, 4 of 6 on the Sasquatch storyline. The previous group that came before Lewis and Clark has fought their way all the way to the West Coast, and they are down to 2 people. And the spirit that's been guiding one of the guys, all of a sudden he realizes the other person can see the spirit, and there is one final arch, and stepping out of the arch is a demon, and he says, one of you 2 will be able to continue on and serve me. And then they cut back to our main group, and our main group has gotten to a part where winter is going to hit, so they have to hurry up and make shelter. And so I'm guessing they're probably in about the Iowa, maybe South Dakota region. So, but it's only 4 of 6, so I presume we're still going to have a couple more Sasquatch sightings. But I'm still enjoying it. But I just worry that them getting to shelter might create a flat spot in the storyline.
Well, don't you know they find shelter and then everything comes and attacks them, right?
Well, maybe, yes.
When you think you're safe, that's when they come to get you?
Yeah.
Cool. Any independent type news you want to talk about? I don't know of anything off the top of my head.
Nothing I could think of. Yeah.
Okay. What are we looking forward to next week? Anything cool coming out that anybody knows about? That
hadn't even looked.
Haven't even looked.
What else? Do that now, maybe. Let's see here. I can get it to come up. Yeah, because I don't know what's coming out. I have no idea. Kind of lost track of when things are coming out now. Let's see. What jumps out? Department H comes out, right?
Oh, cool. Are you reading that in trade, or?
I'm gonna get it in trade. I haven't been able to come across the singles real easily, so I figure that's what I'm gonna do. Next issue of Batgirl comes out. I'm kind of looking forward to that. The new Blue Beetle comes out. I'll be the Rebirth issue anyway, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna check that. I'm gonna check that out to see what that combo ends up being like. Oh, Luke's not here, so I can't talk to him to see if he's going to pick up Six Pack and and the Dog Welder Hard Traveling Heroes. Going to pick that up. I'm going to get it. As much as I said that I needed probably a year's break, I'm going to get it anyway just to see. It's a 6-issue miniseries. What that's like. The next issue of Wacky Raceland comes out.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. New issue of Wonder Woman, so that'll be cool. What else? Any new Image books? These are the other ones that seem to crank out all the number ones. Lake of Fire. I chose not to get that. I'm wondering if I'm going to regret that, but I didn't get Lake of Fire. She-Wolf number 3 comes out.
Oh, yeah.
Am I the only one getting that? Maybe I am.
I think I dropped it. I got
Yeah.
the first 2 issues, and I liked the second issue. But yeah, it was too late at that point, and it wasn't something I had to have.
Sure. Snot Girl number 2.
Ugh, not going there.
Okay, right on. I'm so glad I didn't pick that up. Let's see. Marvel-wise, the Ulysses Civil War II Ulysses issue 103 comes out. Captain America, Hail Hydra comes out. What else? Nothing else is like you screaming. Exodus Life After. That's an Oni Press book that I get. But there's not a ton of stuff that's just jumping out to say, read me. So I don't know. Hopefully, I'll be more excited when I actually get them. It might be a lighter week for me. So
Yeah.
need some of those. I try to decide what book of those DC books I'm going to keep getting and which ones I'm not. At any rate, anything else we feel like we want to chat about? Cool.
No.
Well, we'll call it a night then. Thank you guys for coming and talking comics with me. I really appreciate it.
Always.
Thank you everybody who tagged along and watched the show live and will watch the show later on. I always appreciate you and appreciate your comments. Like I said, go check out Matt's Aquaman video. You'll get a better spin on Aquaman than mine, I'm sure. That's Wednesday's serial. Check it out. I know I will be. You'll probably see me in the comments. We'll see how that plays out. Always like having a good comic book argument with Matt, so look forward to that. And with that, have a great night, and we'll probably see you back next week. Well, good night, everybody.
Bye.